The Runnymede Board of Education meeting is called to order. The Board of Education is in compliance with the sunshine regulations. This meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying in retrospect, as well as posting notices in Borough Hall, the Runnymede Post Office, Mary Bowles School, Alliant Bingham School, and Grace Downey School. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, board members.
Angel Beebe?
Here.
Naomi Davidson?
Here.
Amy Farley?
Here.
Maria Panzarella? Patricia Smith? Samantha Spalding?
Here.
And Lynn Terrell?
Here.
And John Moore is absent.
He's subpoenaed for work, so he will not be here this evening. Also present, Nancy Ward, Superintendent of Schools, Joanne Augustine, Business Administrator, Butch Bruner, Maintenance Supervisor, and Philip Stern, Board Solicitor. At this time, I need a motion to approve the regular minutes from May 23rd, 2012.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 2012.
Motion made by Naomi,
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Patty. Are there any questions, concerns? Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farley?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to correspondence, we have a FAQ, what candidates want to know about being a school board member, which is attached for everyone to see. Frequently asked questions from local school board members. Do you want me to read that?
No, I think that's just for the board.
That was just for the board to see, okay. Thanks. And also a letter dated June 14, 2012 regarding a review of criminal history unit database. A board member has not completed the online applicant authorization and certification form and submitted this administration fee of $11 in order to receive final approval from the Department of Education to serve in the position of a school board member. And that is attached. Also, this evening, I received correspondence. You'll see there's an agenda item approving Miss Christina Ayusa for the first grade position. She is not able to be here due to a previously planned vacation, so I wanted to read a letter that she submitted to the board. Members of the board, it is with great pleasure that I accept your offer to join the Runnymede Public School District as a first grade teacher at Bingham Elementary in the upcoming 2012-2013 school year. As a successful student of the Runnymede District, I consider this opportunity to be a great honor and look forward to giving back to the district that has built the foundations of my own knowledge. Working in the district this past year has shown that Runnymede is equipped with an exceptional team. I am certain my abilities are well matched, and I look forward to the responsibility of adding to the excellence of your facility. Thank you for your time and consideration, Christina Ayusa. So I wanted to share that with the board under correspondence, and we're also going to, at this time, give our attention to Mr. Philip Stern, who is just going to give us some updates on Oprah and OPMA. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, and it's great to see everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Phil Stern. I have the privilege of representing the legal interests of the Runnymede Board of Education. We've been together for a few years now. It may be of interest to the public to know that before I was a lawyer, I was a teacher. I taught first grade at a private alternative school in Newark, and then after that I taught middle school social studies in Montclair for about 8 years. And one of the things that I remember so vividly about being a teacher is that every once in a while you see with your students that there is a teachable moment, that you see the light bulb go off and there's meaningful learning going on that is, it's a very exciting part about being a teacher, about being involved in education. And indeed, as a board attorney, and an attorney that spends a lot of time doing education law issues, I'm pleased to say that we also still, as attorneys, have teachable moments. And in the 11-12 school year, actually through the 10-11, 11-12 school year, we've had some experiences here in Runnymede that I would say, as of this moment, represent very positive teachable moments. And they center around the application of what is known as the Open Public Meetings Act and the Open Public Records Act. Over the years, the boards of education, both here in Runnymede and throughout the state, have been obliged to do their business as much as possible under the sunshine. That's why we have a law called the Sunshine Law, the Open Public Meetings Act. And the act is very clear as to, for example, what has to be discussed in open session and what can be discussed in closed session. There are, for example, a number of topics that the law allows a Board of Education to go into executive session for. There is a list under the law. I'm holding in my hand a copy of the law, and it says any matter which by express provision of federal law or state statute or rule of court shall be rendered confidential, any matter in which the release of information would impair a right to receive funds, unwarranted invasion of individual privacy, etc. In other words, there are a number of very clear terms that allow us, if we need to go into closed session. We're going to be going into closed session a little bit later on an appointment matter, and we will say that we're going to be going into the appointment matter. What is of great interest for purposes of my little talk tonight, and I promise you I won't speak long, although I'm capable of this, is the following language. When the law says that we can go into closed session, here's what the statute itself says. No public body shall exclude the public from any meeting to discuss any matter described in subsection 7B. And that was, 7B is all the list of things that we can go into closed session about. Until the public body shall first adopt a resolution at a meeting to which the public shall be admitted, A, stating the general nature of the subject to be discussed, and B, stating as precisely as possible the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session of the public body can be disclosed to the public. I just want to repeat a couple of those phrases. One is stating the general nature of the subject to be discussed. What does general nature of the subject to be discussed mean? The other phrase, and stating as precisely as possible the time when. What does precisely as possible mean? Well, the answer to that question is that, generally speaking, people who write these laws are lawyers. And they are people who realize that if there's vague language in the legislation, how is that language ultimately going to be resolved? By lawsuits. And the teachable moment in Runnymede was that there was a lawsuit this year regarding some of the answers to the questions about what is precisely as possible. And in addition, minutes. Every public body shall keep, and again, listen to this sentence, every public body shall keep reasonably comprehensible minutes of all its meetings. What does reasonably comprehensible mean? I think everybody, we could have as many different definitions of what reasonably comprehensible means as there are a number of people in this room. So what has happened over the decades is through the years, the kind of unspoken agreement was that reasonably comprehensible minutes meant minutes that were as brief and as general as possible. And I think that over the years and over the decades, we were used to the idea of a notice about what we're going into executive session about was as general and non-specific as possible. And the reason for that is that there was always an attempt to balance two competing interests. On the one hand, we always have the interest of protecting the confidentiality of individuals. If we're talking about disciplinary issues, if we're talking about hiring issues, if we're talking about a settlement that we have with somebody and wanting to protect the underlying reasons for that settlement, we are trying to balance that need with the public's right to know. We just completed a litigation over the issue of whether or not certain closed session minutes needed to be more specific in order for them to count as confidential and to be redacted. And it sounds a little vague. What I mean by that is there was a judge who was asked to look at a set of our minutes. And he looked at the minutes, and our position about those minutes was that somebody who requested those minutes under the Open Public Records Act was entitled to them, but crossing out certain names, redacted, crossing out. And again, it's that balance. We were trying to balance the confidentiality interests of the individuals with the public's right to know. When the judge looked at the minutes, he said that they were so sparse, so non-specific, that there was no way for him to know whether they qualified for the confidentiality that would allow for the redaction. In other words, what the judge was saying was, if you had been much more specific about everything that happened in that session, you could have redacted much more, and the judge, would have been able to recognize that those minutes required that degree of confidentiality. But the balance is not achieved unless the reader, in this case it was a judge, understands that there is a confidential issue. So in 2012, the balance between protecting individual confidentiality rights and the public's right to know as much as possible is being very vigorously pushed, if you will, or there are advocates, many of whom we know right here in this room, who would really like to see as much known as possible, as much in the sunshine as possible. And I don't think anybody in this room would argue with the fact that that sounds good, that sounds like a good idea, and as a public body, we certainly want the public to know that we care about them knowing as much as possible. What has happened, though, is that the individuals, not just here in Runnymede, but there are people statewide who are working really hard to take this Open Public Meetings Act law and the Open Public Records Act law and trying to make it as, I guess the best word to use is as transparent as possible. And we engaged for a period of time in some litigation over that issue. And I'm here to say, on behalf of the board, to the public and to the board, coming from my own perspective, that there were very valuable lessons learned in the context of that litigation in terms of what many people in the public are saying is, tell us enough so that we can trust that the executive session is legitimate, that what is written about the executive session shows that confidential information was actually discussed, so that there doesn't need to be questioning. And what the Runnymede Board of Education wants to do is embrace the spirit of that idea, while still trying to weigh that balance, to contain, what's the word I'm looking for? To maintain that balance between ensuring that no member of the public, no employee, no one ever feels that a matter that they believe to be fervently confidential, that they had no intention of sharing with anybody, ever feels hurt by being unfairly disclosed. And at the same time, no member of the public feels that there is a public body that is trying to hide something or make something unavailable that should otherwise be available. So and I'm speaking very personally here, in the context of whether or not you can teach an old dog new tricks, I'm here to tell you, with the color of my hair and with the number of years that I've been practicing law, this is a very new time as it pertains to the Open Public Records Act and the Open Public Meetings Act. And the idea is that when there are conflicts and when there is a tension between those two very important laws, our job should be as much as possible to meet whomever is challenging halfway, with a knowing that we understand that side of the balance. We'd like you to understand our side of the balance. And it's our hope that by so doing, we'll continue to progress in a very positive way with all those, with any issue that may come up. On behalf of the board, I can't promise that we'll always agree. I can't promise that everything we do will be met with, like, oh, this is great that you're doing this. But I believe I can promise that we're always going to try to meet the public at least halfway in maintaining that very delicate balance. And it's been a very humbling experience. It's been a very valuable experience, and it's one that I feel privileged to have been a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is now time for open public comment. There's public items, public comment at this time is for agenda items only. Please remember that we are sticking to 3 minutes per person. You can only comment on specific resolution or items on the agenda at this time. Does anybody have any questions? If there's no questions, then we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Ward.
Thank you, Mrs. Spalding. I have a few items, and I also wanted to update the board on recent legislation that appears to be going through. Our enrollment remained the same, it's 862 students. We had a wonderful end of our school year. Every class was treated to a field trip, and grade 3 and 8 were supported by the district and local budget, and K1, 2, and 4 through 7 were all courtesy of the PTA. So I extend my personal gratitude, and I know our principals do as well, to the PTA for all of the things that you helped with this year, and not the least of which was the field trips. We really appreciate your support tremendously. We conducted an administrative retreat on June 21st, and the board can see all of the bullets there for things that we looked at, data analysis, various data points, and we spent a full day looking at all of these data points, and we're going to be putting together some summaries and reports for the board at board retreat time, which will be probably at the August board meeting. And that's it on that part of the report. I wanted to let you know that both the Assembly and the Senate have passed a bill regarding tenure reform, and these items are listed for you. The tenure for new employees would be provided after 4 years of employment as opposed to 3. That a new teacher would spend their first year in a mentorship program, although new teachers do that now, during which the new teacher will be partnered with an experienced, effective teacher, and that's mandated currently. Each school district would have to annually submit to the commissioner the evaluation plan that we'll use to test the effectiveness of teachers and administrators, and the board is aware of the fact that there's a new teacher evaluation system that we are going to be piloting and then adopting for the subsequent year in time for the mandate. This part is different from anything I had seen before, that evaluation of teachers would only be conducted by supervisors in the district and not outside personnel. We're going to see how that shakes out, because the new teacher evaluation system was rather extensive in the number of evaluations that each teacher received, and many smaller districts with few administrators were assuming that they were maybe going to have to hire outside observers to help just with the load of observations. So it looks like if they observe that these are not observations that can count toward the tenure process. So we're going to wait sort of a stay tuned and see what happens there. They also mandated that test scores alone would not be a predominant factor in teacher evaluation, but one of several, which is consistent with what the EE4NJ is saying. Any teacher administrator who receives 2 ineffective ratings, which is in the lowest of the 4 tiers, and 2 consecutive annual evaluations will face tenure charges. So they're going right to the filing of tenure charges with 2 consecutive ratings of either partially effective or ineffective. And note that this is not just for teachers, this is also for administrators. So administrators, when they're evaluated, and they have to have a plan for evaluation as well. They've decided that the decisions would not be made by the commissioner, but would go straight to binding arbitration for any contested tenure cases. My guess is that tenure cases will very likely be contested, and it will be interesting to see what happens in binding arbitration. So stay tuned for that as well. Contested cases would no longer be referred to the administrative law judge, and final determination would no longer be made by the commissioner. The hearing before the arbitrator also must be held within 45 days of the case being assigned. So arbitration is a predominant factor in this new tenure reform process. I believe that school boards was looking at a beefier bill. They were hoping to address the last in, first out. So this has not really embraced any of that at this point, and I think school boards is going to continue to push what they think is a portion of their agenda. I also wanted to keep everyone up to date. Mr. Stern referred to our current case, Kathy Renby Board of Education and the Oprah lawsuit. We are in the final stages of negotiating and coming to closure. Very likely, this case will not go to trial. One of the largest things is the thing that this board adopted at the last meeting, which is the more extensive list of resolutions, and that Mrs. Spalding is reading a more comprehensive response to why we're going into executive session. And very little else really needs to be hashed out. I think we're at the tail end of it. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Can we discuss, July and August?
Absolutely.
Right now? There is a need to have a July board meeting, so if you could get out your calendars, that's what I just did on my phone. It should be the last, Wednesday of the month, which is the 25th, but I will be on vacation, so I wanted to know if it would be okay if we made it July the 18th, which is the Wednesday before. And see if anybody had any issues with that.
July what?
18th. It's okay with you?
That works better for me.
Okay,
Okay, so we had tentatively set the 25th.
right,
Now we're pushing it up to the 18th.
but I'll be with Mickey, so could we do it the week before?
Ah, lucky you.
Are
I
you
think
okay?
that is free, I think I'm.
You're good? Okay, so it looks like we have the quorum here, so we'll set that for July 18th, 7 p.m. And also, can we talk about the retreat so everyone can schedule that?
Sure.
What should we, plan to do, and on what date?
What we did last time was we made it 5 o'clock the day of the board meeting, just so that the board didn't have to come back another day, and then went right into business at 7. Is that agreeable to everybody?
On this July
On the
18th?
15th, on August
On
15th.
August
Sorry.
15th.
Our August meeting is August 15th.
I'll be on vacation.
Okay.
She's on vacation, John and I are not on vacation, or
Right.
will be able to
We
be here.
purposely
We
made
we
it-
moved it because
we
John
moved
and
it
I
because
always were absent from that one.
Because that's the week of vacation.
August 15th, you're saying?
Mhm.
Mhm. We can do board business one day and a retreat another day.
Amy, would you prefer to be here for the board retreat?
I think it might be helpful.
Because we can come in another day, if we have to.
It's goal setting.
I would
I
like-
would prefer to be here,
Okay,
if it's something we could do as a
Okay.
group. If we can't do it as a majority group, then I'll have to do it that.
So then it would be, not the calendar.
here's August,
So the week of August 20th is not a good week for,
for most of us, here, the
because the 22nd is, we avoided. So it would have to be that final week.
Mhm.
Well,
Is everybody available on
On
August
the
29th?
week of the,
Yes, I am.
on August 29th?
Yes,
Yes,
yes. Okay, then we can set the board retreat for,
We can, actually, what we could do would be to move, well, I don't know about moving the meeting there. We could.
breakfast, we brought breakfast.
Yeah, we did it earlier in the day.
Earlier than
Mhm.
5,
We did it
took a half
a
day that
morning
day.
and then,
Right, we did the same thing this time, another morning or afternoon.
sure.
Are you okay with that, Patty?
All right, then we can have the board meeting on the 15th and then do the board retreat on the 29th. And if you like, we could do 9 in the morning,
On the 29th,
29th, 9 in the morning. Okay.
I'm looking at you because you're the one that I'm concerned about right now. Are you okay with that?
I don't know my work calendar, but it looks okay.
Okay. Okay, all right. So then
August
it's
29th.
Okay.
at 9 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Very good.
The business administrator's report is,
I included my report, and just to go over some of the items that are on there is one of the things I did within the last month since the regular meeting was creating the bus routes and request for quotations for the extended school year program. I had anticipated doing renewal contracts for the regular school year, but I will be soliciting bids for transportation and advertising for that on Friday. So, and you have a motion in the agenda to authorize me to do that. In addition to that, I had continued my work with the food service program and reviewing our alternatives and ways to reduce our costs, and looking forward to how the next year will come about, and there's a motion in the agenda as well to that effect. I did explore the alternatives with another provider, and based on doing that and doing some negotiating, I was able to get a lower per meal cost than the initial proposal that we had received for 2012 and 13. Also, in doing and looking at our health benefit costs as well, I explored alternative providers to do some comparative pricing, and as a result of those efforts as well, I feel that we were able to get a combined increase of 2.2% for our health, RX, and dental benefits. And actually, the health portion was only an increase of 1.2%, which I thought was excellent. And then I updated the Ed Jobs Fund cash management reports, submitted the ARA quarterly section 1512 reporting, the fiscal year 12 non-public transportation verification report, and reviewed and consulted on matters that involved our homeless tuition request, FSA setup, transportation, discussed annual appointments and approvals, and submitted the reimbursement request for our fiscal year 11-12 IDEA grant, as well as our NCLB, and I will be submitting the amendment to our NCLB grant as well. And we did get our approval on our carryover for IDEA that was submitted last month. Let's see. And in addition to that, I attended some various meetings, including the 50th annual ASBO conference down in Atlantic City, and I attended 8 different workshops, which were very good. So I had lots of CPE credit available for me as well on various topics. So I found that very interesting and worthwhile, and along with other meetings and routine business that I had to take care of. The one follow-up I wanted to give you too from last meeting was on the ballot drawing. I did call the county clerk's office, and the ballot drawing will be on August 13th at 3 p.m. at the county courthouse in the clerk's office. And that's in room 102, which is 520 Market Street. And the woman did make a point of saying if you get there at 10 after 3, there's a good chance you might have already missed it. So make sure that you're on time.
what was that room, 102?
Yes,
So
room
it's the
102.
same place we had to bring our
The clerk's office.
decisions.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. That's in Camden. That's where we need to drop back.
Yes.
It's all new now.
Yeah, you'll have to do, and she also made a point of saying it's either metered parking or you have to park in a lot and pay the fee.
Or keep your husband or makes your husband drive around the block a couple times.
Yeah.
Attached, you will find the building and grounds report, principal's report, nurses report, and special education report. Are there any questions? I have a question for Butch. How's that quote coming along for down in school's bathroom issue?
Well, we received them,
Yeah?
and we're deciding which one we're gonna go with.
Okay,
We'll be moving on that within the month.
okay, okay.
Is that something that will be rectified by September?
That's
Oh,
what,
Yes.
absolutely.
that's what my
We're
next
gonna
question
buy
was.
it.
Okay, that's important.
Okay. Anything for the PTA report? Anything?
Planning meeting tomorrow, and we're gonna figure out, we're gonna buy some supplies, I think, for the students.
Good, thank you. I'm under the impression that no committees met this, not since the last meeting, so,
I will be looking for a curriculum committee meeting date though. I was originally thinking of July 18th as the day of the board meeting, but maybe if we could meet during the day, we'd have some time to take a look at some of these new curriculum that are free.
I'm available at any time that day after one, I work till 1:30. Okay. That's no problem. Okay. Any other questions or concerns before we move on? Curriculum, same day.
That is.
2?
2 o'clock's fine. 2 o'clock okay with you?
Perfect. The 18th?
Any other teams need to meet?
I don't think so at this time.
On to new business. I need a motion to approve the following items under property and transportation, item number 1.
I think the first one was just.
Oh, well, it's 1, 2, and 3 then, right? It's 1 is to discard technology equipment, 2 would be use of facilities, and 3 is to authorize the school business administrator to solicit bids for student transportation for the 12-13 school year.
I make a motion to approve 1, 2, and
Motion made by Patty,
Second?
seconded by Naomi. Are there any questions?
3. I have a question. Since I didn't break out my new policy on, usage of, I don't remember what it said when we approved it, the desk, the use of facilities too, last month or the month before. But, since St. Teresa's is putting in so early for their usage for I'm assuming it's for basketball, how's that gonna affect the RY? How does that fall into the new policy?
This is the APR.
They use the all-purpose room they have for more years than I can remember.
As does the
Only
RY.
only on Thursday nights.
That's
So
why.
RY has typically scheduled around St. Teresa on Thursday
Right,
nights.
it's just not specific about what you.
Right,
we were
that's what
approving.
I,
Well,
I
that's
had
why
it saying.
Yeah, it's only that one night. It's the
Just
same
Thursday.
request that they've always made.
Okay, so it's Thursday evenings only. I had asked the same thing
Sorry.
when Phil was talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thursday evening only.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
Lynn Terrell,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Under personnel, I need a motion to approve the following. Number 1 through number 12.
I'd like to make a motion to approve under personnel items 1 through 12.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Naomi, seconded by Lynn. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Salaries represented 2%.
No questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe, Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Abstain.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
Lynn Terrell,
Yes.
John Moore is absent. Motion carries 5 yes, 1 abstention.
I asked Dr. Ward to address the board about item number 7, her intent to retire. And We just wanted to publicly thank her for everything that she has done for our school district the last few years, and I know we have another year of hard work ahead of us, and we're glad to have her. Would you like to add anything?
It's been my pleasure, of course, to serve the Runnymede Board of Education and most importantly, the children of the Runnymede School District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finance, we need a motion to approve items number 1. I can do that all together. I can't do 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, hold on. We need a motion for items number 1 to 17 and 21 and 22
Correct.
at this time. Okay. I think it's 18.
Yeah.
1 to 18 and 21 and 22, please. Motion made by Patty,
Second?
seconded by Naomi. Take a minute, let me know if you have any questions.
I have a question. Number 16 is just to put in line any need we may have for the services for bond issues. Is that number
16?
16?
No, that is the grant anticipation note. We had to do one at the beginning, that it was done at the beginning of July, and the state has still yet to reimburse us, so that one that one's maturing, and we'll be reissuing another one.
Okay. I think the state will catch up.
I hope so.
We least expected.
And also, our employee assistance program, was this particular program used by our staff this year and felt that it was?
I sure hope so. It's a little-
Well, I mean, I know, I just want, I mean, I know confidentiality, we have no rights to.
And we don't know who.
Exactly.
I can tell you that a couple of people volunteered sharing with me and said, we're so glad you have it in the district because
Good.
we found it to be very helpful.
Good.
Helps to keep people working, rather
Absolutely.
practical point of view.
Do they pay copay to do that?
No.
No, that's nice.
And if you go, it's like, if say you go for time management, you get 8 sessions for time management, yeah. It's
Is
really
there
good.
any, is there any way for us from this employee assistance program to get a list of the programs they offer to our employees, like, for instance, time management, just so we as a board are aware of exactly what our employees are able to go and have assistance with? So we'll discuss that.
We have the brochures from Cooper, we'll be happy to
Okay,
share.
that would be great.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farren,
Yes?
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
I need a motion to approve Philip Stern of Adams, Stern, Gutierrez, and thank you, LLC, as a solicitor under a fair and open competitive request for proposals received April 30th, 2012, at a fee of $150 per hour for attorney fees and $90 per hour for paralegals. Motion made by Amy, seconded by Lynn. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe.
Yes.
Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farren.
Yes.
Patricia Smith.
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Madam President,
Yes.
if I may, I just want to thank the board. We recognize there are a lot of very fine education attorneys out there, and we very much value the opportunity to help you, so I thank you for that vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve Joanne Augustine as custodian of records for the 2012-2013 school year.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Angel,
Second that motion.
seconded by Patty. Any questions?
I have a question. Are you up for the challenge? Okay.
Joanne has been going to several training sessions and, is more than prepared at this time. Correct?
Yes.
We have
Okay.
faith in you, Joanne.
Absolutely.
We have all faith in you.
Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
So 23, 24, and 25 need to be done independently also?
The ones that have. well,
That's
yes,
why they
yes,
look like that?
yes. Mhm.
Need a motion for Rehab Connection as physical therapy provider under a fair and open competitive request for proposals received June 25th, 2012, at an hourly rate of $77.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Angel, seconded by Patty. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Need another motion for Rehab Connection as the occupational therapy provider under a fair and open competitive request for proposals received June 25th, 2012, at an hourly rate of $77.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Lynn,
Second?
seconded by Naomi. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Samantha Spalding?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes. Excuse me, yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Need a motion for Teachscape as appointed as a provider for training and implementation of a data-driven teacher evaluation system under a fair and open competitive request for qualifications received June 26, 2012, at a total cost of $14,161 for software, licensing, and training for the period July 1, 2012 through June 30, 2013.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Lynn,
I'll second that.
seconded by Patty. This was mandated, we had to have this, correct? So I just wanted to make that clear to the public and to the board that we're not just, going out and spending $14,161 because we wanted to.
And actually, it's not, and any of it won't be a local budget for taxpayer money. It's Race to the Top grant, and NCLB Title IIA money will pay for this.
Oh, great. My only question is there like a maintenance fee coming to us
There will
each
be.
year?
There
Do you
will
have
be.
any idea what it will entail? Dollars, not dollars?
Well, it depends on how much of the package we continue to have. And to that end, it may be around the same amount of money in subsequent years. Yeah. We're mandated to have a system, we're mandated to have data collection, and they do the training. The other thing that's nice about Teachscape is they have embedded videos so that exemplar lessons are there. If teachers are struggling in any particular area, we can refer them to observe these videos and see what we mean when we're talking about certain lessons, certain strategies, methods that we would like them to use. So it's an ongoing professional development package as well, and that can be funded at least in part by our Title IIA money every year, which is assigned exclusively to professional development.
So when the mandates come down, and like, this is different than what you thought it was gonna be 2 months ago, the tenure reform and the evaluation process, and as the requirements change, obviously, their program is going to adapt to encompass this, or are we going to then need to do something else financially in order to account, well, because it's that whole left hand, right hand, and they're mandating that we have it, and is it then going to need, are they going to be able to meet the needs of whatever the requirements are?
Well, and there, of course, there can be no guarantees of that, but here's what I can tell you. That Teachscape is the exclusive provider of the Danielson framework, and the Danielson framework is one that is being used by probably about 2/3 of the school districts in the state of New Jersey. So Teachscape will have to, if they want to keep their contract with Danielson, and they're smart, I'm sure they will, they'll have to keep pace, because they'll have to keep their edge, otherwise people will start trickling away and going to other places.
So will because the mandate for the evaluation process goes into full effect 13-14.
You're right.
So at that point, they would probably charge us an update version update, is that what you would anticipate?
I would think so, yes.
Okay,
Or not, because they're gonna have to remain competitive in the field as
okay.
well, but, and then the other thing is, if this doesn't work in total, when it's being paid on the federal government's dime, then we can start to take a look at what pieces of this we must have, and what pieces of this we can not necessarily do. So, we'll pilot the full package next year, and then we'll move forward on what we think works. The other thing is, and I'm actually gonna be coming to the board for, Mrs. Spalding, for a representative of the board to sit on our committee. We already have, an evaluation committee. We had all of the principals and a number of teachers, one at least representing each school, see some presentations about which they wanted. I think I informed the board about that. We also need to have a parent, and we need to have a board member, sitting on this committee as well. There's a lot that still needs to be refined, and, you know, if we do, you wanna try to be just in the right place. If you do too much work ahead of time, you're gonna get ahead of the state, and you're gonna be doing things that aren't necessarily required, that might not be things that we consider to be helpful to us. So we wanna try to stay right behind what they're having us do. This is very tricky, because they're rolling this out before they even really know what they want and what they're doing, so. I'm sorry? That's how it is, that's how it is, get used to it, right? When you work for the department, you know how it is.
We need a roll call next time. Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Curriculum, I need a motion to approve items number 1 and number 2.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items number 1 and 2 under curriculum.
Motion made by Naomi, seconded by Angel. Are there any questions?
I did read through this, it's very comprehensive, and, I thought it was very, good, it has a lot of benchmarks in it, and I was really glad to see that there are some also including, and you probably do this all the time, about the special education as well, so I was very glad to see
And this
that.
was a collaborative effort.
Yes, it was.
There was a professional development committee at each of the schools contributed to the plan.
Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farah.
Yes.
Patricia Smith.
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Policy and Public Relations, I need a motion to approve the policy for the second reading, facility use, number 7510. Motion made by Patty,
I'll second.
seconded by Lynn. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding,
Yes.
and Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Before we do the public, why don't we do a motion to change the meeting from July 25th to the 18th?
That would be perfect. I need a motion to change, do we have to do everything? Why don't we do the August too?
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the movement of our board meeting from July 25th to July 18th at 7 PM, as well as the August 15th Board of Ed meeting at 7 PM, and the board retreat on August 29th at 9 AM.
Make a motion to move those dates.
Motion made by Naomi, seconded by Patty. Roll call?
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Patricia Smith.
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
And Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
At this time, we also did not,
Sure. I'd like to thank Leanne Michelle, for coming out this evening. Leanne is gonna be working in first grade at Bingham School, on a long-term substitute position, and we wish her well and thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for coming out, we appreciate it. Good luck,
Thank you.
first grade.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
My son.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. At this time, it is time for public comments on any item. The public is reminded that all public complaints against a district employee must be made through a specific grievance process. A description of this process may be found in Board of Ed Policy File Code 0167. This policy is available upon request in the office of the board secretary. Any individual naming an employee in a complaint before the Board of Education without the employee's permission could be cited for violating that employee's civil and contractual rights. At this time, are there any questions? Mr. Conlon?
I have a question about the food services with NutriServe. How much is that going to cost the school district next year?
Actually, our contract is a vending agreement with Belmar, okay, and as far as the wording of the contract, there's a per meal price for the lunch meals, it's $2.05 on the lunches, and then there's a management fee to NutriServe, which over the year is $10,506, I believe it was.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah. I just received the legal bills for March, and I just had a question about the telephone conference with Samantha Spalding and with John Schmidt, and then also the private meeting. It totals over $400 and some. Was there a reason that you had to have a private meeting with Mr. Schmidt back in March or May?
Yes.
And that couldn't have been done in public?
I mean, could it have, sure, it could have been done in public. It was a meaningful exchange of ideas, and we believe was very helpful in moving all the parties towards a better place.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mrs. Passio?
Hi, Pat Passio, 28 Holly Avenue, Runnymede. Yeah, I just have one question. It says Runnymede School District discarded technology equipment. What do you do with that technology equipment? How do you discard it?
We,
My
first,
question.
right, what do we do with it? We have a vendor who comes and takes it away.
It's recycled? Does-
Some of it is recycled and some of it is not recycled. It depends on, the viability of it. Typically when we discard technology equipment, it is well beyond any type of use.
So
Do you mean, is it like refurbished, or do you mean,
Yeah,
is
is
it like
it
recycled
refurbished?
properly?
Right, do you give it to somebody who can recycle it and refurbish it? Is it usable? And does it cost you money to give it to this vendor, or does he pay you money?
It does not cost us anything, no.
Doesn't cost us anything.
And does he pay you anything for it?
No, because I
Okay,
don't
so
think there's much value to it. It's sort of a one hand washes the other.
Okay.
If we don't have to pay for it, it's helpful, and the value to the vendor is minimal.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
This is in regards to you, Butch. As a safety issue, every time I have passed by in the schoolyard for the bins out there, for the garbage bins, they're opened. Wouldn't it be better to keep them closed as a safety precaution? That, and also, there's still a lot of garbage that's laying around in the back there that was there 3 weeks ago.
What school are you talking about?
I'm
Mr.
talking about
Passio?
Volts, Mary Volts.
Wasn't there 3 weeks ago, because we
Well-
clean it every week, but here's what happens. When the dumpster, the truck comes and gets it, anything that falls out, it goes right there into the bins. And then I have one of our people pick it up when it's every Friday, because it come every Thursday to get it.
Mhm.
So you may be seeing something that's there every Friday
Mhm.
after the Thursday pickup. As far as the gates being closed, I had them closed a couple of days, but they're all damaged, and they're in the process of being repaired this summer. So you'll see improvements in that area by September.
Okay, I did see things picked up, because there was water there, stagnant water, and you did get rid of that. There was this, trash on the sides that was rid of, but there's the very first bin in the back, a little bit underneath, and that's been there. That's been there. That has been there. It's the same garbage. When I visited here about 3 weeks ago with the green team, it's the same garbage.
That very next day, I was out there with them, and cleaned it all up.
It's the same. It's still stuck to the ground. I've been here 3 times, and it's the
Trash
same.
under the
Mr.
bin?
Brewer,
Yeah.
would you take a walk with Mrs. Passio after
Yeah.
the board meeting
Mhm.
and let her point out exactly what she's
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, because I know it was cleaned up, but I will.
Okay.
But maybe she's seeing something that you're not aware of, so
Yeah.
that would give you
And it
an
is, that first
opportunity
bin's
to.
always gonna be the problem, because that's the one that the dumpster takes out.
I understand that, but I've been here a few times just checking it, and it's still the same trash.
I think
Okay.
you can go look. and see
Okay,
what-
thank you.
what she's talking about.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, at this time, we are going to go into executive session. Well, first, I need a motion to go into executive session.
Yeah.
Yes, I need a motion to go into executive session. Motion made by Amy, seconded by Patty. Whereas while the Senator Byron M. Bayer Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12, requires all meetings of the Runnymede School District Board of Education to be held in public, NJSA 10:4-12B sets forth 9 types of matters that may lawfully be discussed in executive session without the public being permitted to attend. And whereas the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public, and whereas the 9 exceptions to the public meetings set forth in NJSA 10:4-12B are listed below, and next to each exemption is a box with which the number of issues to be privately discussed that fall within the exception shall be written, and after each exception is a space where additional information that will disclose as much information about the decision as possible without undermining the purpose of the exemption shall be written. Now therefore be it resolved that the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education will go into closed session for the following reasons as outlined in NJSA 10:4-12B. There's 2 matters involving the employment, appointment, termination of employment, terms and conditions of employment, evaluation of the performance, promotion, or discipline of any specific prospective public officer or employee, or current public officer or employee employed or appointed by the public body, unless all individual employees or appointees whose rights could be adversely affected request in writing that such matters be discussed at a public meeting. And the 2 reasons why we are going into executive is to discuss and appoint, come out and appoint a Board of Education member, now that we have board members present who were not here last week. And we also want to discuss the appointment of our solicitor with the solicitor. Whereas the length of the executive session is undetermined, however, the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education will make every attempt to estimate the time of session prior to convening the session, after which the public meeting shall reconvene at approximately 8:33, and the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education will proceed with business. Now therefore be it resolved that the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education will go into executive session for only the above stated reasons. Be it further resolved that the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education hereby declares that its discussion of the aforementioned subject may be made public at a time when the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education attorney advises that the disclosure of the discussion will not detrimentally affect any right, interest, or duty of the school district or any other entity with respect to the said discussion. Be it further resolved that the Runnymede Public School District Board of Education and the aforementioned regions hereby declares that the public is excluded from the portion of the meeting during which the above discussion shall take place, and hereby directs the board secretary to take the appropriate action and to effectuate the terms of this resolution. Be it further resolved that the board secretary on the next business day following this meeting shall furnish a copy of this resolution to any member of the public who requests one at the fees allowed by NJSA 47:1A-1. All in favor of executive session?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We will now go into executive session. in position until December 31st, 2012.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Lynn, seconded by Amy. Any questions? Roll call.
Angel Didi,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding.
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
There's no other business, so at this time I need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn made by Patty, seconded by Angel at 8:36. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, meeting is adjourned.